It's Friday, May 24th, 2024. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Qigong. This morning I'm going to cover the first 3 sets, and I'm going to pay attention to a little bit more than usual the mind-body connection. This idea that we have something, mind, E, and we have a physical body, the Qi, Shanti. Shanti is health, but Qi, body. And that there is an integral connection between the two when we practice. That concept is something that has been in Western philosophy discussed since before a long time ago. Plato and Socrates in ancient Greece posited the questions that we still discuss today in modern philosophy as part of the mind-body problem. Is there something separate that is mind? Is it in the pituitary gland? That's where the mind is, right? It's in the pituitary gland. No, it's not. Well, where is it then? Is it in the lower dantian? No, not really. We can focus on the lower dantian. Is that mind? Not really. That question, what is mind? What do we mean? What is that concept? What am I talking about when I say focus the mind? What am I talking about when I talk about focus the energy? What does that mean? In my definitions, energy, and I repeat this often, energy is Jing. The inner breath, Qi. That distinction matters for what I'm asking anyone that's practicing to try to do. If the goal is to circulate the inner breath through a particular channel, the meridian, through particular organs, as we do if we focus on the kidneys or the stomach and the liver and spleen, then what is it that we're supposed to pay attention to? Is that the inner breath, Qi? Is it the energy, that vital, directed, nervous energy? It's not the breath, it's a nervous pathway. It's more like electrical energy than it is the, I would say, the liquid type energy that we find in the inner breath, in the Qi. It flows. The energy flows as well, but the idea that we use it and can circulate it and send it out is not the same as the inner breath. It's a different concept. That distinction is frequently lost in translation. Qi, energy, breath. If we think of it in these terms, to me, in my own studies, it makes much more sense, because all of these concepts exist. The physical breath, I have lungs, I have a diaphragm, I breathe in and out, I have to do that in order to survive. That's being human. The inner breath, the Qi, follows a similar pattern to the physical breath. It also follows the channels and meridians through the body. It also follows the physical movement through the body. Same as the breath, the physical breath, right? So those connections are part of what we want to have in practice as we pay attention to them. What is that thought? What does thought mean? 意念。我的意念是放松。放松。My idea is to relax. But in Chinese, 意念, 放松, has a slightly different connotation than think about relaxing. That distinction matters in how we interpret what we're doing in practice. Each time we pay attention to one element or another, we want to develop this sense that the mind is active and engaged in practice. Not, well, in 20 minutes I need to go do this, and next week I need to do that, and right here, right now, what I'm doing, paying attention to each and every aspect of practice, so that the mind is more open, also more active, and more focused on the particulars for what we are doing right now. That skill, developing that skill, is part of what we want to do in practice. It's not all of a sudden I know all these things. The concept of mind, I just talked about that a little bit. It's something that has engaged philosophers throughout human history. What does it mean? I'm going to keep talking about it. There's not a definitive answer that anybody has. We can go through some of the concepts, and as we do that, we develop a sense of the variety that human culture has in what we think of as this idea of mind. What is it? Feet about shoulder width apart, bend the knees, hands down at the sides, open the arms, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, pull up through the crown of the head, basic stretch, hands circle to the front, back around to both sides, up along center line, extend up, fingertips reach out forward, bend the knees, roll up through the back, and again, relax the breath, keep the shoulders down, roll up, fingertips reach up, reach out, one more time, Pull up. Fingertips reach up, elbows drop down, wrists, hands return to your sides. Throughout each movement that we just did, I reminded you, asked you to think about particular aspects of what we were doing. Fingertips reach out, elbows drop down, keep the knees bent. Paying attention to each of these physical aspects, being mindful of each of these physical aspects is one part of this simple circle. As we start the first set in Wudang Qigong, begin at extreme emptiness. That same idea, being mindful of the physical postures, and then connecting through the movement, the physical breath and the Qi, so that as we're practicing, we're keeping all three aspects in mind. The idea of the movement, the openness in the body, and the circulation of the physical and the inner breath. Ladies, right hand on the outside, gentlemen, left hand on the outside, both hands cross at the lower Tantien, connect the Lao bone in both palms. Breathe in, come up to the middle Tantien, hands turn over. Brush the body just slightly with the thumbs as you press down. Sink, bend the knees, keep the back straight, and breathe in, and breathe out. Breathe in, pay attention to the connection between both palms. As you pull up, pay attention to the connection between both palms and the middle Tantien and the lower Tantien. Keep the shoulders down. Relax the breath. Coordinate the body. Two more. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Hands separate. Down on both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Alright, relax a second. I need to check. One of my perennial errors has returned. I suspect I know what's going on with it. I apologize for any issues with the stream. I do have new equipment that I'm getting set up, and my hope is that one of the problems that the new equipment is going to solve is some of the connection issues. I don't have a better connection, but with better equipment, there are some options that I have. So I'm going to continue with today's class, and as I'm hoping that I know what happened, there's an auto update that I can't turn off, and every time this happens, it's because of this auto update thing. So I'm going to go slowly, so any breakup will be minimal, and that we'll be able to continue to cover until I see this error message go away. I'll be able to continue to cover what I intended to cover in class today. As we begin practice for pushing the mountain, this idea of being mindful and being well coordinated in what we're doing becomes even more important as we set to push. No. Right? No leaning back. And push has to come from underneath to push out. Right? So the back stays straight. The body sinks as I sit right here. This has to be just a little tiny bit behind my heel, so that as my legs bend, I can physically do that movement. If I'm too far forward, my knees won't let me bend without leaning. Right here? No. The same if I'm too far back. It's gonna, I'm gonna distort the movement. Right, so my hip's too far back. Sticking out over here. Right? As I stay straight, just a hair. Here to here. That's it. That little bit of difference as we sink down opens up the opportunity for lower work. So as we get stronger, we can sink lower to the point that the top of the leg is parallel to the floor. That extent of movement is something that we want to develop. It is something that we want to have and be able to use. It's also something that as we connect the inner breath, the physical movement, and that physical energy, we begin to develop a greater sense of what the intent behind the movement. Qigong, push the mountain. Push the mountain. If we think about that, what I'm going to go push a mountain. Push the mountain. Someone else who's stronger than you are. Something else that's stronger than you are. Push the mountain. If we take that concept and apply it to movement, the way in which we do this movement should carry the concept through. Right? So, here, push the mountain. If I do something like this, it's not correct, and I can't push anything. I can move my arms down, right? But I'm not gonna, that's not pushing the mountain. That nuance in the movement. Where does the movement come from? And where does it go? As my arm extends, the energy goes with. From the lower Tai Tian to the middle Tai Tian, push out. It's round. And it's connected with the inner breath as well as with the physical breath. The focus should be on that connection from the lower Tai Tian and the middle Tai Tian through both palms. Feet about shoulder width apart. Breathe in. Palms up. Breathe out. Press down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Pull up. Connect through the whole body. And push. Pull in. And breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. Connect the physical breath through the body so that as you push, you exhale. As you exhale, the physical body pulls in naturally. And opens so that the movement is both strong and supple. Two more. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. Last time, breathe in. And separate, breathe out. Press down on both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. All right, I'm going to check over here for a second. All right, it's telling me it's all fine now. So I'm guessing that the auto update that I didn't want is finished. All right, as we practice wild goose flying, this idea again, the idea in mind for pushing the mountain. It's heavy. It doesn't want to move. It's not going anywhere. It's a mountain. It's not going anywhere. Really, it's not. That concept, right? As we push, that strength that we need to push something that seems as if it's never going to move. that collecting the energy, bringing it into the movement, applying it through the movement, and then being able to take that concept. What is, the mountain is heavy, it doesn't want to move, I need more strength, I need to bring more effort, more energy, more of whatever it is that I can summon. Jing, Shen, Li, Li Liang. The physical energy, the physical effort, as much as I can bring to that, I need to bring it, because whatever this thing is, it's a mountain, I can't move it. Developing that skill, like all of the others, takes practice for that particular skill. In Wild Goose Flying, we do almost the opposite. We want to be light, not heavy. So as we breathe in and pull up, this idea of flight and taking flight, as well as settling and landing, are part of the skill in this exercise. Paying attention to drawing up through the whole body so that you pull up from underneath using the Hui Yin. The Bai Hui is here, the Hui Yin is just below it. The area between the perineum and the scrotum in humans, right? Right in between. Up. All that pulls up. As we extend, right? That lightness through the body carries everything up. Now, the idea in bringing the wrists up has an application. There's an application in here, right? There's an application here too. All right, that combination, that understanding that there is something more behind this particular movement. It's not just, let me wave my hands out here, right? That notion that there's more to it, being mindful of the movement as my arm extends. I do want to pay attention to the wrist, quite a lot actually. That direction and that extension connect through the back, through the legs, and through the center of the body, so that there is both strength and flexibility exhibited in the movement. Feet about shoulder width apart, stand straight. Palms up, breathe in, breathe out, press down. Hands separate, breathe in. Hands up along both sides. Stick those elbows out. In this one we do that. Yes, we do. Fingertips down to the knees. Pay attention to the wrists as you rise up. As you sink down as well. And breathe in. And breathe out. Pay attention to the back. Pay attention to the hips. Hips just behind the heels. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Pay attention to the connection between both palms. They stay connected to each other. 2 more. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. One more. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in, palms up. And breathe out. Press down on both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. In this set, and I'm going to show this here real quick. In this set, one of the things that we pay attention to is how to go up, right? If I were thinking of a jump, I could use some of the skills that we're building in this particular set to help me with that. The connection to lift and the connection to sink are both important. I talked about this connection to lift, so you're lifting through the whole body. The hui-yin pulls up, the bai-hui pulls up, everything goes up, right? That idea, having that idea in mind. Pull up. I'm not really thinking about raising my heels. I'm thinking about pulling up. That difference. Raise the heels. I think about raising heels. That's what happens. I think about pulling up through the whole body. That's what happens. Doesn't look that much different, but it feels a lot different. That concept and that idea, how we do the movement, what is the idea that we have in mind while we are practicing? It matters. It really does matter. In this set, like I said, I talked about pulling up. I didn't talk as much about sinking. You will have seen it, or you can rewind and you can see it in the sets. As we move through each part of the movement, here, sink, the more I can sink here, the easier it is to rise up. Settle, sink, open. That connection, sinking, let it go, open, is one of the things that we want to develop, one of the elements that we want to develop in practice. If we're paying attention to how the movement works, the physics behind the movement, this is physics. If I sink and I sink and I sink and then I release it, my body is naturally going to go up. It's for every second fundamental principle in physics, the reaction, law of response, inertia. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. As I pull down, once I let that go, that same concept applies to our inner energy. It applies to our inner strength. It Neijin. Lijin, just Baijin. Li Liang is physical strength. Neijin, internal strength. Different. This distinction and these concepts are part of what I've learned. For me, if I wasn't already familiar with some of the questions around the mind-body problem when I started practicing, I would have been completely lost, because this whole idea of all of this is going on in my head. It's not something that you can see. If you're here in a room with me, yeah, some of it maybe. If I call it out, maybe. But what did you see? What did you see me do? What you didn't see was that as I stepped to the center, I paid attention to my balance, my placement, where my legs were, where my feet were, where my lower body center was. And as I started the set, I decided that I was going to pay attention to only one set and to the lower dantian. That minimal focus, limited to certain kinds of things. Everything else is still available, but I'm not paying attention to it right now. That concept that we step into position, we put the body in place, we pay attention to the physical body, and then we decide what we're going to do. And that mindfulness, that internal workmanship, isn't necessarily visible immediately. We may understand it, we may be able to, there may be some things where we see it, there may be some things where it's really hard to use the eyes to see it. In the same room, it's the same as being able to feel. Sorry. It is being able to feel. It's not the same as, it really is. You can feel it. I touch somebody during practice to give a correction. You know where my hand was. You do. You know it was on my shoulder, it was on your shoulder, and it was on the shoulder blade, or it was on the shoulder, and it was on the front of the shoulder, or it was on the inside of the clavicle here. You will know where my hand was. Very light, very definite, you'll know. And that is something that I unfortunately can't do on video. I wish I could. That difference, that subtle energy, that subtle difference between whether your hips aligned, and this is on the physical level, and your hips aligned directly with the heel, just a little tiny bit behind it, makes all the difference in how practice develops. This is something that we pay attention to. It's something that we work with. This mindfulness concept, the mind and the body working together. What is mind? What does it mean to be mindful of? What does the physical body need to do? How does the physical body function? That physical universe. And how do we bring both of them together? And for the cat, she would like breakfast now. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate everyone that's followed me. I appreciate that there's interest in the topic. I am going to continue this sort of connected kind of presentation where I start to bring out more of the philosophical tenets along with a little bit more maybe of the physiological questions as we practice, and point out where there is much more of an opportunity to develop this idea of what's going on during practice. What are we doing internally? What are we asking ourselves to do mentally, emotionally, physically, with the internal components that we know are part of that inner circulation and that inner development that we're looking for in these particular types of exercises. Thank you. I'll be back. Bye.